that totally referenced Nemesis when he was talking to Shinzon, and they were like, talking about, you've always looked up to the stars and wondered what was out there. That is such a Nemesis, and I love Nemesis, so I absolutely loved that. And it's who Picard is. He never, even in family, right? He was thinking about taking that job on Earth, and it just didn't work out. It's not who he is. So I like that.
I really enjoyed that more for what he said than what she said. Because I love because the quote is, I tried my best to belong to this place, but it never really felt like home. And he's right. And because he was talking, the way the scene starts is awesome too, because he's talking about the smells of the harvest, right? The sweet smell of the grapes and the whatever, something that was like charred wood smell and all that, all those
like
things.
The earth smell,
right?
Yeah.
What the wood manure now smells like now that it's been down for so long and all that. And he's going through this descriptive way of knowing that it's time to harvest, which, by the way, I love. I love it because instead of letting a robot or a computer decide when to harvest, he's doing it the old way. Yep, smells right. Let's get it. So he's taken to the place. He's figured it out. He knows how to be, a vineyard.
Vintner.
Is that what they're called?
Yes.
But so one of those people.
Sip my wine.
Yeah, I'm not doing that this time. So he's figured out how to do it the old way, right? Which is such a Picard thing. He wouldn't let a computer decide when to harvest the grapes. He'd smell it. Like, that's just who he is. So not everything changes over time.
Yeah.
But, even in that moment, he knows it's nice. It's a great place to visit. I love coming here, but I don't want to live here.
Yeah.
This isn't my home. Like, I love going to Hilton Head, South Carolina for a week a year. And when I'm not there, I miss it. But if I lived there, I'd want to be back here.
Yep. That's home.
Right.
And his home is in the stars. Yeah.
Yep. Just like my wife's home is in Disney World. So at some point, I'm going to have to give up my home.
Oh, dear.
So.
All right. Well, I also wanted to ask, since you're answering all of my questions. So Raffi was saying that she has evidence of the Romulan connection with the attack with Mars and getting the sense, and that there's a Romulan in Starfleet. And then Picard sort of
Romulan
sloughs
connection,
it off.
not that they're in Starfleet.
There's a Romulan connection with Starfleet.
Yes. Well, I want to make that distinction because we talked last week about being Romulan, and they said she's Vulcan in this episode.
Yes,
which
they did.
Could be a lie, but I'm still holding out that she's not Romulan, and we're not going down that path. However, one of the mistakes I made this week was when I was flipping through trying to miss all the NASA posts, I did notice a post with her with the glasses on and someone mentioning Mirror Universe. And if we end up going and dealing with the Mirror Universe in a first season again, I'm going to scream.
Oh my gosh, I didn't see this.
Yeah, I the only post I saw, and they're like, because she can't deal with the sun. Like, please just have her like wearing glasses, please.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. Yeah, I noticed she was wearing sunglasses, but it didn't even make a connection of mirror.
I mean, the person made the point. I've seen it. I actually saw more than one post about it. And in one of them, I noticed someone made the point that Vulcans have never worn sunglasses before in the show, but I don't. Okay. That doesn't matter. Just because one Vulcan likes them, I don't wear sunglasses often.
Right.
But my profile picture on Facebook is me in sunglasses.
Well, maybe that's why I'm wearing my Mirror Universe pin today.
Oh, I'm going to throw myself through a wall.
Wow.
Now you're ruining it for me. I'm saving it for you, and you're ruining it for me.
No, I don't think we're going to see Mirror.
I don't either, but
yeah,
just the fact that even came up because of a pair of sunglasses, I'm like, oh, man. And I don't fault the person who raised the question. I mean, it's a valid question. I just really hope they're wrong.
Yeah, me too. So, yeah, Commodore O is Vulcan, is what they say. And she So I think that she, obviously, is going to have the connection with the Romulans because she wants to dissuade Picard.
But not 14 years ago.
Yeah, and so Raffi had evidence, and Picard's like, well, why would they want to do that? But then, like, within the next breath, he's like, but I need you to show me and to be my eyes because I don't see these things.
Yeah, it was a little
That was
awkward.
so quick. Yeah.
It was awkward. However, just because he doesn't believe that someone is in Starfleet working with the Romulans doesn't mean she doesn't see other things that he didn't see. You know what I mean? Or maybe he just knows she does see a lot of things and some of them are out there, but just because some are out there, you know, he's still going to sift through it himself. I mean, I'm saying the same thing twice, really.
Yeah.
You know, but on top of all that, he does also say Starfleet has to know they're operating here. So obviously he knows there's a connection.
Yeah.
The question is, obviously she saw there was a connection, right? And there must be a connection now because there's these assassin groups operating on Earth. And the only way for that to happen is if it was sanctioned by somebody in Starfleet. Right. He knows that. He understands that. And anyone out on the outside watching would understand this. I think what he doesn't believe is he doesn't believe that the Romulans would want to destroy the things that were saving them. Not necessarily that there's no connection. Just why would that be what they use that connection for? Yeah.
I think that is right because he sees now, but he didn't see 14 years ago because it seemed like she probably brought this up to him and he, again, just sloughed it off. But now 14 years later, it's like she's telling him again, I have evidence. I've been telling you this. And he's still hesitant to see the connection 14 years ago, but is,
but it's obvious
questioning it now.
Right.
Yeah.
It's obvious now because she does bring it up 14 years ago when they're talking.
Right.
You know, she doesn't say she has evidence at the time. However, she does bring up this fact. And even then he's like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Why would the Tal Shiar, because she says the name Tal Shiar, why would they kill or destroy the beings that are responsible for their saving?
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make sense. In any stretch of the imagination, that does not make sense. So I'm hoping that's not who started it, but whatever. Obviously, it's going to be. It's not the Tal Shiar itself. It's the organization they were before they were the Tal Shiar, who are going to find out.
Vash.
Yeah, we're going to find out that the Zhat Vash exists still in a smaller number inside the Tal Shiar, that even the main Tal Shiar don't know are there. But now, why are they doing it?
Right. Yeah, there's definitely this connection to Soji and Daj.
Well, yeah, the Destroyer and what?
I know. Was that just not huge? So let's jump to the Borg Reclamation Center and all the scenes that we had there.
So before we get there, though,
I'm
gonna talk about that, but I don't know where you were headed. So,
okay.
The one thing I thought was really cool was not only is the Reclamation Center for stealing the Borg implants and selling them, they're like they were talking about in the last episode, freeing them, but they expand on that in that, people see us to be in warehouses or whatever. I don't remember what the other thing he said was. He said there were two options. The Borg see us as both. And I thought that was really cool because basically they're freeing them to be more Romulans. They're integrating them into their own society.
Well, so it was interesting because when Soji walked in and it was all the Romulans being reclaimed, right? But only the Romulans were disordered and had, they were playing with the black Rubik's cube and, they were twitching out and stuff. Like, why only the Romulans had this side effect of, removing the Borg implants? Maybe because they are only saving the Romulans where the rest are just thrown away?
That's what I think they're doing at this moment. Or they're keeping the Romulans separate from the rest, and we're just seeing the Romulans.
Right.
And it was a very eerily done scene. I mean, it's very reminiscent of like a mental institution that you would see on TV. Or if you ever saw the show Lost, I don't know if you watched that, but Hurley, for those who have, Hurley is in a mental institution before he ends up on the island, whatever. There's scenes of him in the mental institution. And it's similarly, filmed to this type of scene. Like, people just randomly sitting at a table playing cards. Like, you don't really understand what they're doing, or fidgeting with something, and they don't really understand what they're doing, or you don't understand what they're doing. And like, so it actually made me think of Lost and the scenes at Hurley because it was pretty close to identical.
Yeah. It was really eerie. You're right there.
Yeah, well, because no one was talking.
Yeah.
No, and they weren't even like making noises. Like, it was really quiet. And I'll tell you from firsthand experience, I've worked in them. I've had to do electrical work in them, and they're not quiet places most of the time. I've you always have to be with a guard, and you're usually locked in a room to do the work because they don't want anyone getting near your tools or your material, or you getting near them and freaking somebody out because you're a new face or whatever, and or worse, people, construction workers don't know how to handle new things either sometimes. So you see someone who has a problem and you freak out, then they might freak out, and then everyone freaks out, and all because you didn't know how to just treat someone like a person. But like I said, I've worked in them, and because I've worked in them a few times now, when the companies that I was with had jobs in them, I would go to them because they obviously knew that I knew how to work in those types of areas, and how I also knew the security guards, and I knew the nurses, and it made it a little easier. But it's not a quiet place. Like, it's just not. No place where 10, 15 people are conjugating in a room or two rooms is going to be a quiet place. So it made it that much more eerie.
Yeah, it definitely was. And so I loved, and I wanted your take when Ramda was saying, well, first of all, I want to go back a little bit, where she's playing with the Trionimo cards, right?
Uh-huh.
I thought that was cute. But then the card comes up that's the door, and Soji was like, oh, it's a false door, and Romulans have this false front door. And so she takes the chair, walks behind Ramda, and then asks permission, and then she's granted permission to talk to her. So when she was placing the cards, and she was like, oh, is this a mandala type of thing? And, it's connecting the Borg shared consciousness, like a mythology, like it's common story. And then Ramda's like, I hate that word. And she's like, well, what would you call it? And she's like, the news. I was like, oh my gosh, Pat's just going to blow up with this. I totally loved it.
Why would I blow up with that?
Because it's like, this is current. It's not mythology, and like history repeats itself. So you think it's mythology.
Oh, you mean in a good way?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was like, why would I be mad at that?
No, I thought it was brilliant. And
so did I.
Soji was like, oh, I love that. It's a shared narrative for their knowledge.
Well, what I loved about that is she tried to say, I want to create that for the Borg. Right? So meaning that clearly, okay, so now back to a question you asked a minute ago. Clearly they're reclaiming more than just the Romulan ones. Okay, but besides that, she wants to create a mythology, shared narrative for the Borg. Like, she even catches herself. They don't do that a lot. I feel they don't do that enough in TV. It's more natural for her to say mythology again.
Yeah.
Because she's talking to the person who was the foremost expert in Romulan mythology. And now she hates that word. So she went in with a conversation in her head about mythology, right? So it's much more natural for her to mistakenly keep saying mythology than to go back to shared consciousness or shared story, or she could have even thrown out the word lore at some point, but didn't. And you're right, I did blow up at that because the only podcasts I listen to are wrestling, and this one's called Lore. It's called Lore, and the guy who does Lore also does a couple others, but
I listen to Lore too.
Do you? Did you watch the Amazon?
No,
show?
I haven't.
Oh, it's so good.
Is it?
So
okay.
And I'm about to buy the books, but anyway, I'll give a cheap plug here because I just gave one to Lore. I just bought